All right, so you should already have this one worked out. So what was the answer here? Uh-huh. Okay, so I can narrow it down to A and C. I'm just adding the answer choices in there. I made you do it by hand. Now, negative 0.37, is that weak or strong? It's weak, so the answer would have been A. Mhm. That one's easy peasy. Now, just remember for the R, for R equals to pop up, what do you have to do? Not alpha trace. Alpha trace puts the equation into Y equals. Second window, so you can put the X value, but your calculators are going to be reset for the semester exam. You have to turn on your diagnostics. Turn on your diagnostics. I'm just gonna put, oops, diag. Yeah. Yeah. Because when it's reset, it'll turn them back off. So just make sure to turn on your diagnostics. Don't forget to do that. Number 2, you have your own graph on yours. So all you have to do is match it up. What was the inequality after you were done solving? You got Y is what? 2 over 3x plus 2. Negative 2 over 3x plus 2. So I can go ahead and eliminate H and J because both of those lines are going up. Is my inequality underlined or not? It's not, so it's dotted. So I don't even have to know which way it's pointing to know what the answer is. But what was the inequality in the final answer? Did I have to flip it? No, so it was still less than. Less than means to shade below, so even more reason to pick G. But you should have already graphed that on your own paper. Questions on this one? All right, number 3. Now, this is the one that you get before, or the answer choices are written in point slope form, meaning before you solve it. These are in point slope form. So what's the answer? What did y'all get as the answer? But what was it before you started solving? They're still in pre-solved form. They're in point slope form. I mean, yes, it helps to solve it. You don't have to erase it. It is A. It is A. Now, point slope form is on your formula chart. It's in your formula chart as y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So you at least don't have to worry about remembering it, memorizing that. But how do you label the point? x1, y1. Slope is what variable? What letter? M. So M is 4. You have slope, you have a point slope form. The y goes with the y, x goes with x. So it becomes y minus 5. My slope is 4. There are some on this review, x goes with x, so x minus 2. There are some on this review where you do have to solve, so I'll just wait until then to do that. But for this one, all you had to do is worry about knowing how to plug it in. Because if you look at your answer choices, they're not solved, so that's where I can stop. I'm gonna push pause. Now, if you don't have any of the stuff written down, I'd suggest you write it down because you need something to study. All right, number 4, you do have this graph on your packet. It is what kind of line, a horizontal or a vertical? Horizontal, so we use HOI. Now the Y in HOI stands for what? Thank you, Y equals a number. Y equals a number. Y equals a number. I would automatically eliminate G and J. Now the O in HOI stands for what? 0 for my slope. My slope is 0. Slope is 0. Your answer is F. Be able to recognize that. Now, here on H, it says that the slope is 3. So if you were to see that in an equation, it would say something like 3x, but there is no x. This is a horizontal line, meaning there's only one letter present. It cannot be h. Got it? All right. H obviously stands for horizontal. So slope is 0, y equals a number. Anybody need more time on that one? All right. Hopefully not. Number five. What the actual question, I know it asks you on the packet 3 different things, but the actual question is, what is the y-intercept? What did y'all get as the y-intercept? So is it A? Negative 3.5. So it's C. Now, I told you guys that you cannot automatically assume that it's a 0.5, that it's crossing straight down the middle when it's not when there isn't a perfect intersection. Because on the STAR test, we have had answers that are as close as negative 3.6 or as close as negative 3.4, something close to the 0.5. And it can be these answer choices. So you have to know how to do this by hand. You have to know how to do this the long way. So one of the things is you have to know how to find the slope of the graph. How do you find the slope from the graph? Rise over run. So you count the boxes. If you do that, you go up 6 over 8. And 6 over 8 simplifies or reduces to 3 over 4. It reduces to 3/4. Okay. Now from there, you can pick a point, any point. It doesn't matter if I do the -6, -8, or the 2, -2. I'm still going to get the same answer. So I picked 2, -2. I have a point. I have the slope. What can I use? Point slope form, x1, y1. The y goes with the y. So y minus -2. The slope is 3 over 4. X goes with x minus 2. So after I'm done plugging in, any double negatives changes to a positive. And to solve, what is the first step? Multiply. So 3 over 4, if you did not show this work on your packet, you might want to be writing this down in case you're forced to do that on the test. And 3 over 4 times -2 gives you -3/2. Now, you should not be intimidated by all of these fractions because you have alpha y equals to help you. And then from there, you solve. Now, we usually divide, but you cannot divide because y and 2 are separated by a plus. The opposite of plus is minus. One of the main points whenever we first learn point slope form is that the slope never changes. So if it starts off as a 3/4, it's going to end up as a 3/4, meaning don't add or subtract anything to it. Don't multiply anything to it except the x. Now, -3/2 minus 2 will give you -7 over 2. You can change that -7 over 2 back to a decimal using your calculator by pressing what? Not math enter changes it back to a fraction, but it's already a fraction. So you would use math, decimal, which is the second option. I'm going to just put a 2 there and then enter. So go ahead and try that. Go ahead and put that into your calculator. That way you know that you can do that. Number 6 doesn't look like what you have in your packet, but it does talk about having a line parallel to the x-axis. First thing you need to know is that your x-axis goes in what direction? Up and down, or left and right? Left and right. It's laying down. So if I want a line that's parallel to it, I'm also going to have another what kind of line? Another horizontal line. Another horizontal line. Now for horizontal lines, we use HOI. where y is equal to a number, where it's, so being able to recognize that on a table is knowing that the y is equal to the same number every time. And if you look at answer F, y equals a 2 every single time. Y equals a number. This is a horizontal line represented in table form. So I would actually write this table on your packet. That way you know what to look for if it's a table. Because I can pick any point on this line. This is -1, +2, -2, +2, -3, +2, -4, +2. I can pick any point on this line and my y will be 2 every single time. Now, they do also give you scratch graph paper on the STAR test. So you can draw yourself a little graph and plot all of these points and notice, hey, the points from answer F give me a line that is parallel to the x-axis. So that could also help you in a way. Okay. Does everybody have that? Any questions on that? Same thing with number 7. Which table values graph represents a line? Same thing, parallel to the y-axis this time. First, you need to know which direction your y-axis goes. Does it go up and down or left and right? The y-axis goes up and down. So if I need a line parallel to that, it would also go which direction? Up and down. Vertical lines are parallel to the y-axis. So what do we use for that? Hoy or Bucks? Bucks. Now, since we're using Bucks, we're looking for a table where x is equal to the same number. Which one is it? G. X is equal to a -1 every time. This is a table that represents a vertical line. Know how to recognize it. X is equal to the same number every time. This is a vertical line. This table F represents a horizontal line. Now, if it says perpendicular, which it has in the past, you would draw some perpendicular to the y-axis. This is my y-axis. Perpendicular means it creates a right angle. So it would be a horizontal. It'd once again go back to F. But you know, parallel lines are side by side. Here's my y-axis. There's my parallel line. All right. Number 8. This one is using point slope form, but it's already solved. So what did y'all get as the answer? This is number 8. Bless you. All right, so that's actually not the correct answer. It is C. He said 2/5. So it is C. Your answer is C. What is one of the key words that we need to be able to recognize here on number 8? Perpendicular. Now, what do we know about perpendicular lines? They have what? Same slope for perpendicular lines? No. That's parallel lines. What do you use for perpendicular? Think chicken. KFC. Keep flip change. Yeah. KFC. Now, why do they give us an equation? We don't need the whole equation. What do we need from it? We only need the slope. Now, keep in mind, they may give you an equation that's not solved. If it's not solved, you have to solve it first and then take the slope from it. But because of the word perpendicular, it cannot stay as 2/5. I need to use keep flip change, and it changes to what? -5/2. Now, in this problem, we got lucky because there's only one -5/2 answer choice. But let's say, for example, hypothetically, that A is also -5/2. What can I do then? I have a slope. They also give me a point. What can I do? Use what? Point slope form, x1, y1. There's a lot of point slope form. That's not going to go away. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So y goes with y minus, we're plugging in a -3. My slope is -5/2, x minus x. So x minus a +4. So it stays as a minus. Only the double negatives connect and change to a positive. Solving something in point slope form, what's the first thing that we do? Multiply. So -5/2 times x just gives me -5/2x. And then -5/2 times -4 gives me a positive what? +10. From there, you solve for y, so you have to move this 3. Do you put it under 5/2 or 10? Under the 10. Remember, in point slope form, the slope never changes, so you don't want to add, subtract, multiply, or divide anything to the slope. The only thing here changing is the y-intercept, so it gives you -5/2x. 10 minus 3 is, there's your 7. Just in case you need to know what to do, in case it's down to 2 answers and not just 1. Make sure you have all that written down, all that copied. Ready? Zai, you good? All right. Number 9. Number 9's a little bit easier. It could be as hard as number 8. But it gets a little bit easier when they provide you with a graph. And this one was technically supposed to be provided with a graph. Now, what equation did I give you in the packet? Y equals what? And this is the equation of this line that is graphed. There's my -5. Now, my key word here in the word problem is what? And what did we say about parallel lines? They have what? Same slope. So if the slope of the line that's given is 4, then the slope of the other one should also be 4. So I can automatically eliminate H and J. Now, to know between 12 and 8, they give me a point, which is 0, 8. Since 0, 8 lies on the y-axis, that makes it my y-intercept. So we got lucky. We got lucky that it actually gave me the y-intercept, so my answer is G. But let's say, for example, they don't give me my y-intercept and they give me the point that is -1, 4. Let's say they give me a random point and not the y-intercept. Let's say I don't get that lucky. Once again, a couple different ways you can go from there. I don't know that it's 0, 8, but I do know that it's -1, 4. My slope is +4, meaning 4/1. So I go up 1, 2, 3, 4/1. There's my y-intercept 8. Everybody see that? You can plot the point. You can use the graph to your advantage. You could use the scratch graph paper to your advantage as well. The other way, if you're not given a graph, once again, point slope form, y minus 4 equals m, not m, equals 4 times x plus 1 equals 4 times x minus -1, which changes to a +1. So you multiply, 4 times x is 4x, 4 times 1 is 4. Last step is to solve. So -4 becomes +4, and you add it to the end, not to the slope. The slope never changes. And you get 4x, and there's your 8 again. 4 plus 4 is 8. So when you're provided a graph, it does make it easier. So make sure you use that to your advantage if you're given a graph. Okay? If not, now you know what to do. Point slope form. Number 10. What is the value of x to the solution? Now, I gave you guys a hint in your packet. It said either change both of those to standard form or solve for y on both of those and use intersect method. Now, a lot of people chose to do solve for y, but they solved for y on this first one and divided by 3. Why is that the wrong thing to do? Because you're not solving for y. You get x by itself, not y by itself. So in all reality, the easiest way to do this one is to solve for standard form or unsolve each one of these. Put them in standard form. Standard form is on your formula chart as ax plus by equals c, where a, b, and c represent numbers. This is the only formula where b does not represent your y-intercept. But what you need to know, the main thing you need to know about standard form is that x and y are on the same side. So how do I change this first equation to get the y on the same side as x? What do I do with that 2y? How do I get y on the same side as x? How do I move 2y back over? Minus 2y, minus 2y. Now in standard form, x does have to come first. So I have to make sure to bring down the 3x first, minus the 2y. These cancel out, equals 14. Second equation, y and x are not on the same side. So how do I move 6x back over? Plus 6x, it's minus, so we're gonna add. Same thing, even though the 6x is what I moved, that is what has to come first. So it's 6x plus what y? 1y equals 18. Now you have numbers that you can use to put into matrix. You have 2 equations, both in standard form. So go ahead and take the time and put this into matrix and tell me what you get. Tell me what you get on your last 2 numbers, unless you already did that. Okay, so we get 3.33333 here at the top, and you get -2 at the bottom. Which one of those represents the value of x? The top one. And the bottom one represents y. Now, 3.333, I can go ahead and eliminate b and c. 3.333 is in decimal form. How do you change a decimal to a fraction? So you can also use that with matrix. Press math enter and see what happens. It changes both to a fraction. You should have a screen that says 10/3 and a -2. So your x value is 10/3. You can use math enter with matrix. It will change it. Oh Lord, I'm trying to. 11 should be easy peasy. All you had to do was solve for y. What did y'all get after solving for y? Okay, I can go ahead and eliminate f and h because both of those cross at a +5. And from there, which one is it, G or J? J. What do you notice about the slope? The slope is negative, so you need to find a line that's going down from left to right. This one has a negative slope. This one is a positive slope. This one's going up. Count your boxes. This one goes up 2. This one goes down 2. Right 5. All right. Easy peasy. Second, number 11. Did anybody actually write the inequality? Did anybody get that far? Tio, did you write the inequality? What'd you get? You didn't? Did you write the inequality? We've written inequalities. We wrote inequalities right before, no, actually right after Thanksgiving breaks. Thanksgiving break, guys. We just did that after Thanksgiving break. You did it? Yeah. Oh, this is the thing like what we put in. Thank you. So Emmanuel got 2.250x because that's the one that says per plus 9. And my total is what? 254. Now it says that we have to purchase at least $254 worth of roses, meaning the $254 has to be the minimum. This is the minimum purchase. This is the lowest that my number can be. This is the least that my number can be. So if that's least, the low side has to go pointing that way, meaning I have to purchase more than that. And yes, there is a line at least. If I get exactly 254, that's okay, which that's where the equal to comes from. But I also did write in the instructions that you had to solve for X, okay? So how do we finish this? How do we solve for X? How do you move your extra term? What's my extra term? Minus 9, it's a plus, so we subtract 9. We have solved using one variable before. It's not new. So the 9s eliminate, 250, x comes down, 254 minus 9 gives us 245. What's the last step? Divide by 250. Now that 250, $2.50 is positive, so does my sign flip? No, it still stays as greater than or equal to 98. Now we get lucky because we don't have to really pay attention to the sign. All I'm worried about is the number. But on the STAR test, you will have just numbers. You could also have answer choices that look like this: greater than 98, X is greater than or equal to 98. You could have X is less than 98. X is less than or equal to 98. So you do have to know the difference with the symbols as well. But if all it is if your answer choice, if all your answer choice is a number, you get lucky. Everybody have that? All right, number 12. First thing I would look for is the first inequality is what? Solid or dotted? And the second one? Dotted. Okay. Solid dotted, can't eliminate. Solid, solid, eliminate H. Solid dotted, but there's no shading, eliminate G. Solid dotted. Okay. Moving on. The solid line has to be shaded which way? Above. Over. So I look for my solid line, shade above, doesn't match. I look for the solid line, shade above, there it is, match. Dotted line, shaded below. I look for my dotted line, it is shaded below, but obviously the solid line doesn't match. Dotted line, shaded below, match, match. J. Got it? These are solved, so just make sure they're solved. 13. What's the answer? You don't have any of those? Negative 30? I think you missed one step. All right, you have G of 3. G of 3 looks similar to G of X, meaning that 3 represents what? X. 3 and X are in the same spot. So anywhere I see an X, I can replace it with what? I can replace it with the 3. So once I do that, it becomes G of 3 is equal to 10 times 1 minus 3. I can type 10 times 1 minus 3 in the calculator. Easy peasy, you get your C. There's some people that just want to do it in their head. So what's 1 minus 3? Not just 2. Negative 2, and 10 times negative 2. And there it is. Because if you try to do this in, and that's why I suggest that you type it in right after you plug it in, because if you subtract 1 minus 3 and get a positive 2 times 10 is a positive 20, you could end up picking the wrong answer. So just plug it in. What if that 3 was a negative? It would change it to a positive, correct? It would have changed it to a positive, but it wasn't, so it didn't. Okay? Just be careful with that. Questions? Last one. Last one, number 14. This is, you do have this graph on your paper. This is a graph showing the parent function. Now, even though I don't know what the parent function is right away, I can write the equation. What is the slope of it? Pick 2 points. What's the slope? 1/1. So the slope is just 1. It's crossing through where? So that makes it 0. Now they want us to change it to what? It says it's transformed to f of x equals 3x. Now, if you think back to function notation, f of x equals and y equals are the exact same thing. There's no difference between writing those that way. There's no difference. So since we're changing the slope, what are we changing? Are we changing the steepness or the shift? Correct. We are changing the steepness. Hold on. Why? Write this down. Write this down and then I'll cover it. Slope. Slope is changing the steepness. Y-intercept is changing the shift. When we say we're changing the shift, think of a manual vehicle. When you shift the gears, you're going what? You don't know how to drive a manual vehicle? Oh no, come on now. Do what? You don't know how to drive stick? That's sad. That's sad. Anyway, listen, I learned at 10. So shift, you're moving the whole line up and down. Shift is moving the whole line up and down. Let's say, hold up. Boy. No, it's too late. You already gave yourself away. Shift. Hey, look up. You're moving the whole line up and down. Okay. Now, the steepness, you're actually changing the tilt in the line. Okay. So now, because that number 1 changed to a 3, do you think it's going to be more or less steep? More, because the number is bigger. So the answer is F. That's what you should have written in your description. Yes. If it's less than 1, it's less steep. Less than 1, less steep. Got it? All right. Make sure you have all the way through 30.